Go to Mohamed Vall in the Jordanian capital. He's covering this from Amman because the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from reporting in the occupied West Bank and from inside Israel. And we're already hearing from Israel Katz. What's he been saying?
Yeah, we've just heard from the former Israeli Defense Minister, Gallant. He gave a televised address to the nation, talking about the points of discord and contention between him and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He summarized it in 3 points. One of them has to do with the conscription of the Haredim. Netanyahu is opposed to that. Gallant is for it. And about the second point is about the need to strike a deal with Hamas for the release of the hostages. Again, he has always been accusing Netanyahu of obstructing that in order to continue the war. And the third point is about the need for a comprehensive official investigation into the incidents, the attacks of October 7. Again, he's saying that that has always been delayed by the cabinet of Prime Minister Netanyahu. But when you listen, we listened earlier to Netanyahu himself explaining, and also his office sent a letter of explanation to Gallant's office. And in that letter, he didn't mention these points. He talked about the leaks. He said that his office has been at the receiving end of a flood of leaks, high security leaks that accuse Netanyahu's office of compromising the goals and the processing of the war. So, I mean, two different perspectives on this discord and on the causes of the sacking of the defense minister. We have now in Tel Aviv, in Haifa, and also in other cities, huge crowds of people taking to the streets, and that's after opposition leader Yair Lapid asked those people to go to the streets, to take to the streets to protest the decision by Benjamin Netanyahu. So it's going to be hours, probably days, when we see whether Netanyahu will be forced by the public to retrieve his decision, as the public did last year when he sacked his defense minister.
All right, thanks so much to Mohamed Vall there. Let's bring in now Dan Perry. He's a former regional editor for the Associated Press. Also served as the chairman of the Foreign Press Association in Israel. He joins us from Tel Aviv. So first of all, this changing of the guard at the Ministry of Defense, what kind of change do you think it might bring to war policy there?
I don't think it'll change a war policy as such that much, but it could change what is to come, because Gallant represents that part of Israel that is more pragmatic and moderate than Netanyahu's right-wing coalition partners, and that was a schism within a coalition, though it wasn't really a 50-50 schism. Gallant was the sole representative, really, of insisting on anything resembling pragmatism, and I think his departure could open the floodgates for some policies that are in the other direction. Much as your audience may think that Israel already is in a right-wing place, it could get worse without Gallant. Now, look, there are moments in societies and countries where you can sort of hear a breaking point. We may be at such a moment here, because I have rarely in my time as a foreign correspondent seen something quite as brazen as Netanyahu choosing Election Day in the U.S. To fire the only minister in his government who is on good relations with the U.S. at a moment when many people in Israel think the Iranians are going to attack and have just been waiting for the polls to close in the U.S. And when Israel really needs America to be on side to figure out an endgame in Lebanon and Gaza and in general, and maybe to collaborate against a challenge that is posed by Iran. Gallant was critical to that. And to fire him at this particular moment, of all moments, is outrageous, considering that the reason for it was that Gallant opposed the preposterous impending law that would formalize the draft evasion of Israel's ultra-Orthodox, which almost the entire rest of society opposes. I don't know how Netanyahu thinks he can survive this politically. And you see already the protests in the streets. The Americans are in a state of shock. It obviously projects division that might invite attack by Israel's enemies, precisely as happened before October 7th, when Netanyahu insisted on his judicial reforms, which are actually an evisceration of Israel's democracy, which exists, again, which really is rather profound, but Netanyahu is trying to do an authoritarian revision. Gallant stood in the way of that, and this is Netanyahu laying down the law, but I think the opposition, the degree of vehemence of the opposition to this may surprise him, mainly because it's seen as reckless to the point of unpatriotic to do it at this particular moment.
So ultimately, listening to what you're saying, what does this mean for the stability and future of this coalition government?
I don't know, because it's true that with Gallant gone, it seems less non-cohesive, but the degree of anger this will bring, the degree to which it could harm in whenever there is the next election, and it could bring up the next election if they start seeing people abandoning the coalition. I mean, they may start to be afraid, and that could cause the coalition to fray. Plus, look, if this is being done in order to enable, with Gallant gone, some dirty deal where they formalize the draft division of the Haredim, I mean, that will be among the more unpopular laws passed by a government in 2024 anywhere on earth. And in a parliamentary system, that endangers the government when they do something that is so in opposition to public opinion. And consider the background. I mean, Israel is, and Sammy, you and I have spoken before. I think this war was imposed on Israel. But whatever one thinks about how Israel's comported itself so far in the war, the fact is they're facing a serious challenge on multiple fronts, and reservists who are from the non-Haredi part of Israel that served ages 22, let's say, to 40, 45. They've been doing 250 days a year of reserve duty because the army's missing people on account of the continuing draft evasion of a growing group of Israelis who are at this point about 15%, but they're having seven kids apiece, and you see where that's going demographically, who actually are arguing vis-a-vis the others that they are doing an equal sacrifice by praying to God.
Right.
So, any country that's had to do with religious fanatics knows how this goes.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much, Dan Perry there.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.